You've both been a part of your fair share of reboots and also long-running franchises. So when this opportunity first came your way, what was it about The Fugitive in general that made you guys think that there was more to mine in that concept?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of reasons why this was so attractive. I was a huge fan of the original. I don't look at it as big shoes to fill. I think it's just a great play on the theme of an innocent guy on the run, and people just tend to love the underdog story. And then working with Quibi and this new platform, Jeffrey Katzenberg, I've been a fan of Kiefer's for as long as I've been watching film. And Stephen Hopkins, our director, just knocked us out of the park.
Yeah, for me, I thought the idea of Quibi was so interesting. Being able to create content that was 10 minutes long was really exciting. Taking the idea of The Fugitive, which we shot as a movie, and being able to create kind of entrances and exits for scenes that would break up the film over a period of time. All of that was exciting. Really wanted to work with Boyd, Stephen Hopkins. He and I did the first season of 24 together. Couldn't wait to work with him again. And the script was really well written. So as Boyd was saying, I was a huge fan of the Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones version of this story. But this is the post 9/11 version. Terrorism had hit American soil. That is a part of the show. Technology has grown so much that we have cameras on every corner of every street. That plays a huge role in the show. And so I felt that we were doing a new take on it. But again, the story centers around societal's desire to rush to judgment, and that we often do not take our time to find out the real facts of a situation before we form our opinion. And I think that in itself is a very cautionary tale.
Given how those themes have changed from, let's say, 1993 until now, what about just from when you shot The Fugitive versus now, given everything that's happened in the world and specifically in the country over the last couple of months? Are you now watching the finished product with different themes and ideas taking, having even more value to them than when you actually shot the thing?
Well, it's, the world has changed dynamically. You're dealing with a worldwide pandemic. You're dealing with a whole social movement, Black Lives Matter and more. Across the nation. You're having a federal government dictate policy that's never been dictated in this country's history. So all it makes you think of is, well, be an interesting second series to make. If as artists you draw upon what is happening in the world around you, I would have to expect that most artists around the world, whether they're painters, writers, actors, or musicians, are having visceral reactions to what is happening. Some positive, some negative, but visceral nonetheless.
I did want to go back to the 93 movie because I know you're playing a different character here, Kiefer, but you are following up an Oscar-winning performance from Tommy Lee Jones. It's one of my favorite performances of his.
One of mine too.
Even though it's a different character and you got to make him your own, is there anything that he did in that movie that you used as a source of inspiration for your version of the character?
Well, there were two things that he did. And part of it was the script and part of it was the way he interpreted it. But he was incredibly funny. He was so sarcastic. And sarcasm generally is the kind of humor that is embodied by someone who is very cynical. And both of those things were integrated in our script as well, but I really wanted to lean into those because people who have been chasing criminals for 35 years are cynical. And that's a real danger because that's where they can make their mistake. That's where they can just think they've seen it all. But that aspect of the Tommy Lee Jones character was something that I just I could watch it today and enjoy it as much as I did the first time I watched it in the theater. There's very few actors on the planet, I believe, that can do that well. So like Boyd said, you don't try and fill someone else's shoes. You try and create your own footprint, and hopefully an audience will enjoy it.
I've only been able to see 4 chapters. I don't want to spoil anything, but I do have to ask, is there anything akin to the "I didn't kill my wife, I don't care" conversation in this version?
Not as direct, but yes, there are moments where I'll have that conversation with other people within my department. And I'll leave it at that. And then maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised down the road.
I'm looking forward to finding those moments. I know you had mentioned earlier that you shot this kind of like a movie, but was there anything over the course of the production process that challenged both of you in a unique way with your craft and just telling stories?
I don't think there was any hindrance at all working on this project and sort of how it's given to the audience in these segments. It didn't affect anything. I prepared for this role as I would for a series or a film. I think it really comes down to the dynamic of the editing and the sort of evolution of the platform, of how they're being sort of rolled out.
What about working with Nick Santora on this? Because I've covered a bunch of Quibi movies and shows, and most of the time when I talk to people, it's their first time experiencing a Quibi, but you guys had the luxury of working with, I mean, I guess now Emmy nominated Nick Santora for Most Dangerous Game. So did you feel his influence kind of helping you out with the format?
Well, he's an incredible writer. This doesn't happen to me very often, but Stephen Hopkins had called me up and we had done the first season of 24 together and are great friends. And I think he's an extraordinary director. And he said, well, I've got this thing and would you read it? And I did, I read it. And he said, well, what do you think? And I said, I'm in. If you want to do it, I'd be thrilled. And he said, well, call me back tomorrow and we'll go over your notes. And I said, I'll go have a drink with you, but I've got no notes. And he said, what? And I said, I love the script. I think it's fantastic. That doesn't happen very often. You know, you might have a note because you don't understand something or something's not clear. I had none. And then he said, well, I have a couple notes. And I said, good, don't change any of my stuff though. And he didn't. That's such a rare thing to happen, to find a piece of material that you feel that strongly about. I just think he's an extraordinary writer.
What was it like jumping back on set with him? I know it's been a while since he directed you in 24, but was it kind of just, picking up where you guys left off in that sense?
I think you're so focused on what you're doing at that moment. You kind of stay focused on that. But with Stephen, Stephen has a unique way of directing that if you're halfway through a scene and he's not engaged, he really will yell out, "You're boring me." And there's very few people that I've worked with that are confident enough to tell you that in the middle of shooting a sequence. And it always makes me laugh, but then it always gets me fired up to go back. So he and I just have a nice way of working together where he makes you want to really reach down deep and do your best. So
what's an example of a moment where he says, "You're boring me"? Then what's his follow-up? What's his note-giving process to kind of steer you in the right direction?
Well, he finally stopped doing it while I was holding a gun because I pointed it at him a couple times and said, "Is this exciting you more?" No, it's just, he does it in a funny way. That's kind of a traditional Pat way to do this. Come on. Think a little harder. We have a very comfortable way of working together. And I think, Boyd, you had the similar experience, right?
Yeah, I think, you can get a little fatigued during a day or a take, something like that. And I think what Kiefer is also getting at too is just that Stephen has a lovely way to check you in line, but in an endearing quality that kind of keeps it rolling and keeps it light, keeps it playful. Because there's nothing malicious about Stephen. He's there to get the best out of you, and like you said, fire you up. And I do have a little bit more. Let's get down and pull this out.
Did you guys swap Predator stories at all?
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. What a franchise to be involved in. I think they actually there was a dancing video with that he also directed for the promo. Told me some inside stories about that, and just I think every Predator has got a story.
I would imagine. Thank you guys so much for your time today. Big congrats on the series.
Thank you so much. Be well.